Day 26, ladies and gentlemen, of 1000 Dawns. Now, to the uninitiated, you may say that being able to do so much in just under 1000 days seems a bit of a, even by the ordinary standards of the average Joe, seems quite an undertaking, to say the least. However, and what this story, this whole story and series of videos is certainly going to be proving is that you'll start to notice a pattern, ladies and gentlemen, is that weirdly enough, we are actually making headway. And we're doing it in very unorthodox ways, but nonetheless have proven that maybe, just maybe, ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing is starting to turn a few heads. Now, with that being said, turning a few heads is one thing, but in terms of keeping their eyes on you, that's quite another thing to pick up. And what we're picking up tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is something very interesting. You see, I've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off and back at work on the Monday. And Monday, ladies and gentlemen, coming up is going to be my final week of the training academy. And whilst it is pretty much going to be sort of like, this is the opportunity to prove everything that I've learned so far since I started this job exactly 1 month ago. It was on a Monday, but let's not, split hairs. It was on the 26th. This is our golden opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Not only to prove exactly what we've learned, but also to demonstrate just how far we've come. I even had the opportunity, I even had the idea, ladies and gentlemen, of possibly making a speech by the time the training academy was all done. They probably won't want to hear it, but you know what? It doesn't mean to say I can't try and make one. Meanwhile, think about just about everything else we've done in the last 5 weeks. We are almost a stone's throw away from being monetized on TikTok, which is no small feat, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just tell you that. I still think we've got an incredibly long way to go, but I also believe, ladies and gentlemen, is that once we get monetized on TikTok, it gives us more opportunities. It gives us more opportunities to make money, and it's something that, you know what, it's just how it is. We are going to keep working, and we open up more doors, more opportunities, and things will start coming our way. But in order to get our way, we can't, if they're not going to come to us, then we will go to them, if that makes sense. Which brings us neatly on to what I'm going to do this weekend. You see, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, at about 11 o'clock is what I'm going to start referring to as the first night shift. Because quite a lot of my new job is going to involve working on night shifts mostly, I have to be alert and be ready and have everything done that needs to be done. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you never waste a moment of your day. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, what I think I've got to do, as a bit of a brief calculation in my head, is I've got about 300 shorts I've got to make for YouTube, for TikTok. We might even put a couple few on Instagram as well. And I think I have an idea about what we can do to capitalize on TikTok. But maybe we should, on Instagram. And maybe we should probably wait until once we're done with once we get started on TikTok, just so we know exactly what we're working with. Following all that, and listen, I am not thinking about turning in for the night until those 300 videos are done, because guess what? 300 videos is probably going to be the output of at least 2 weeks' work. The more we make, the easier it's going to be in the long run. So whilst all that's safely cooking and stuff like that, as I'm going to phrase it, Instagram is going to be the next port of call, and then we'll find out just what we can actually make off TikTok now that our resources are in place and we can see exactly what we could be drawing. They gave me an estimate, ladies and gentlemen, on TikTok that sounds a little bit imaginary, because they said that I can make $4,000 a month if I was like monetized right now. That figure seems a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? It seems a little bit more a bit of a fan. It seems a bit of a fantasy world, ladies and gentlemen, if we're really dealing with numbers like that. Because here's the thing: if we really have that level of potential, so be it. I will happily sit back on that. That's almost rivaling what we actually make a month at my new job. And I did say to a lot of people, there will come a day where I actually do make more money through what I do outside of my job than I do if I was actually in work. Which by the time that happens, we will be well, I'll still work and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, because you know what? Nothing is written in stone and nothing is certain. So therefore, we can't really leap to any conclusions or do things that might have slightly more catastrophic results. Thankfully, however, we are certainly not like that. And honestly, when you think about this, I have been 28 years old now for nearly a whole month. And I think about how far we've come in just 1 month. And I think, just to end this off, ladies and gentlemen, that there is still an awful lot of February to go. And considering that I'm going to be going out on the town, doing videos on both Friday and Saturday night, I think we have a golden opportunity on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. And what do we do with a golden opportunity? Just like a golden ticket, we do not throw it away. This is now ours to win, ladies and gentlemen, provided, well, we don't lose. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.